Hello there, and welcome to the sixth episode of Articulate Thoughts, a personal blog of mine. Today is Tuesday, September 27th, and the past week has been quite the roller coaster ride. There's quite have been a few changes in my life, and that's kind of assuming it's like September, so that's kind of the season of change, and just kind of going on with that. And yeah, I feel like this blog is a pretty interesting thing because like every time Monday rolls around, I have a interesting time sleeping and just kind of having all these ideas like bounce around my head. But this week I want to talk about eyes, and it's a very interesting thing because there's all these different ideas that come into my head when it comes to eyes, and they're everywhere. Everyone has them. You see them a lot, and I think the first thing with eyes is like there's like a literal and metaphorical aspect to eyes. So everyone sees things. It's a very dominant sense in humans. I think if you were to take away one of the five senses, I think a lot of people would not want to give up eyes. Their sight. I think some people could get away with like not being able to smell or taste, maybe even hear. But I mean, hearing and eyes are and hearing and seeing are the two dominant senses I feel, and with eyes, there's like a literal and a metaphorical aspect to it. I guess there is that with like most things, but it's like the most obvious with eyes. So when you have that example of like, is the glass half full, half empty? This is like a perfect example of what I mean. So in a literal sense, you could say, is it half full, half empty? And someone will say, okay, it's half full. And then on a deeper level, in a metaphorical sense, it shows, are they an optimist or a pessimist? Like an optimist will say, well, it's half full, and a pessimist will say it's, half empty. So I think by how you see things and like how you the kind of filters that go on in your mind and what you see as the end result kind of says a lot. It says a lot about you as a person, and if you're able to really just analyze, take a second, like how do you look at things and what are the other possibilities, or how could you look at different things and get a different angle on one piece of information, then just gives you more things to think about and more data to extract. And if you have more information, then you could obviously make more of a better decision, or just if we have more data to work from, then it's just a better situation, obviously. So another thing that kind of inspired me to like talk about eyes this episode was someone reached out to me and they said they've been really enjoying uh, some of the photography I've been posting in the past little while, and particularly the past three photographs. And photography for me, it's a very casual hobby. I don't have any professional equipment or anything. Like most things I kind of do, like I mean, I'm just recording this off my computer, like an iPod or like an Apple MacBook, and when I go out and take photographs, I just kind of have my phone. I just use that camera, and like I mean, phones nowadays are so advanced. I think a lot of people kind of take it for granted. I know I certainly do, but I mean, back in the day when you had cameras, like you just had like those manual shutters, and you had to go develop them, and technology's taken a long way. But I feel anybody nowadays could be a photographer, and it's a really interesting thing. It's a really great thing to have because again, like everyone sees things differently, and they want to capture different things, and like photography in particular, it's just a really intimate way of expressing how you see things because there's something very when you take a shot, there's something very specific that's catching your eye and capturing your interest, and there's obviously a story or a feeling that you want to like gather in that snapshot. And a lot of times when I take pictures, it's very intuitive. It's just like, oh, that looks kind of cool, and I'll kind of put the camera on and try to figure out what would be like the best arrangement or what kind of feels cool. And sometimes I just snap it without even like thinking a whole lot. So when I got this like message, it was really really it was a really sweet message, and like you just said, like she just said that she spent like 3 or 4 minutes like looking at these photographs, and I don't know, like when I thought about it, like if you're just taking like 3 or 4 minutes to look at one photograph, that's actually quite a bit of time to be looking at one thing. And the more I think about it, it's like anyone tuning into this, thank you for you know taking like 10 minutes out of your day to listen to what I have to say. So time is a very valuable commodity, and it's if you could share some of it, that's greatly appreciated. But besides getting back to like the thing about the photography, like I thought about the photos that this girl was talking about, the last three ones, and they're just really interesting because like I just remember that I felt really good in those moments. There were just moments where I felt really calm and relaxed, and just just looking at things in a very positive way. Like one of them, I just got back from Toronto, and one of the things that been nagging on me was I live in Calgary, and Alberta has a lot of really nice scenery, a lot of national parks and stuff in the local area. And I never really take the time to drive out and adventure. I just kind of stay at home a lot of times, or like stay in the city and go around walking trails around there, and those are nice too. But when you're away from the city, it's just really really nice. And a friend invited me, and I went with her and a bunch of other her family, and it was just a really nice serene moment when walking down this trail, and I just saw this like a dandelion, like when it turns all white and feathery and stuff, and like people kind of blow it, or kids kind of kick it, or I used to when I was a kid, anyways. They're pretty fun. But I just took a picture of it, and then it just like turned out really well. It's the lighting and the positioning of the sun looked really good. So, um, the other one, the second one I posted was one I was out and with a friend in Banff, and this friend's really cool. Like it's really interesting because we don't have anything in particularly in common, but we're just both really chill people, and just very comfortable around each other, and just spending a day driving out, and just it's really nice because a lot of the time I do things by myself, and that's really cool and all that, but sometimes it gets a little lonely, or it's just nice to have someone around, and like not necessarily spend time talking or chatting or whatever, but just having someone beside you and just hanging out is really really nice. And like we were sitting by a lake, and the sun was right in our face, and like it was so bright, and like I couldn't really see anything on the screen the screen of my phone, and it just took like, hey, the water looks really nice, and I just took a photo of it. And then when I saw how it turned out on the computer screen, like whoa, this looks really trippy, because the reflection of the water, you could see like a bit of the sky, and then you could see the water, and then you could see like the water's really clear, so you could see what's on the bottom of the water, and everything's just kind of mixed in together, and it just really really cool photograph. But again, that's one of the ones that were like highly intuitive. I didn't really think about it that much. It just kind of snapped it. But again, it's just the whole thing about in the feeling of things, how I was feeling in the moment. And the third one was one of like this hill in right by downtown Calgary. I found myself there by mistake. Actually, I was trying to find one particular location, and you know how sometimes Google Maps is not entirely accurate, and I just kind of took a wrong turn or whatnot, and just found this really nice site. And um, whatever I planned to go to didn't turn out to be what I thought it was. So I just figured, well, I have a couple of hours to kill, so I'm just gonna sit here and on this bench and just look a view, just like admire the view. And it was really nice. I just took the photograph of it, and that was another one that turned out really well. But yeah, like I think it's just something really interesting to think about, like when you look at things and how does it make you feel. And I think that's a really good indicator of like where you're at. Like if you're looking at things on a literal and metaphorical level that make you feel good, then I think that's a good sign that you're on the right track. And like personally for me, like just sharing that online and getting like that kind of like feedback and that amount of likes was really nice and endearing. And that's not necessarily why I do it, although it is nice. But it just again, I spend a lot of time alone, and like I just like sharing certain experiences, and it's really cool. But yeah, I hope you guys tuned in. Who tuned in just got something out of this talk, and hope you just get something out of it. And please leave a comment or questions or whatever if you have any thoughts about these blogs, and maybe some ideas of how I could do things better or whatnot. So yeah, anywho, I hope you guys have a great week, and yeah, tune in next week for the next episode of Articulate Thoughts.